Welcome to the Culture Edit. Unique perspectives into the personal and professional lives of individuals at the helm of successful business, athletics, art, and design. Welcome to the Culture Edit, episode 92. 92. Good old 92. I feel like I'm 92 years old today.
I was literally about to say that's how old I feel today.
We had a long Memorial Day weekend, and while some of you might be thinking, oh, they're probably hungover, it's quite the opposite. We just rode our bikes really hard, and it does feel like a hangover, but no liquor was included in that. No.
You forgot what it feels like to ride for 6 hours in the mountains.
Yeah.
The next day, the exhaustion hang. It's exhaustion is what it is.
Yeah, I now I ask ChatGPT literally everything about my life, like one little thing, and I'm like asking ChatGPT. So I was like, ChatGPT, why do I feel like poo the day after riding my bike 6 hours in the sun, in the elements, in the mountains? And it was basically just like, you're just tired.
Yeah.
But we had an amazing Memorial Day weekend. Nikki and Chad Strickland here. For those of you who are listening for the first time, welcome. Please, before we dive into everything, please make sure you like, subscribe, and share, because a lot of you listen, but not all of you subscribe. And subscriptions and sharing helps us get better guests on the pod.
Like Little Penny.
Yeah, exactly. This is another one-on-one episode because of the holiday weekend. It was hard to nail anyone down to record. But we had starting last Thursday, it was a nonstop military appreciation focused weekend.
It was very, very patriotic.
Yeah.
Extended Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun though.
I even had an event Wednesday night.
Oh yeah, so you've been going on
Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Here we are, Tuesday.
Yes. And maybe that's why we feel so exhausted.
Yeah. So our friend Ed Byers, former guest of the pod and friend of the pod, Ed Byers, Medal of Honor recipient, was in town. And we did not realize that our paths were going to be crossing. He thought we were going to be out of town, and we were in town, and he was in town. And he said, hey, I've got some things going on. You want to come?
We said, of course, because being around Ed, if you've met him, I know a few of you have, is always a good time. He is, just like, we'll get into the event on Thursday, very powerful leader and speaker and all of that, but he's just really fun. Like, he's just a fun, nice guy to be around, and he's very humble. And it's kind of refreshing because in a world where you're just, I don't know, everything feels like networking, or everything feels sometimes a little like you're trying to like fill space with words. It doesn't ever feel that way when you're around Ed. It feels like conversations are really candid and not hard to have a conversation. So I don't know if I'm articulating that right, but there's some people
real.
that you can just be real with, you can be yourself with. And for us, I feel like we could just be ourselves around Ed. So and hopefully he feels the same way.
Yeah.
Us. But he invited us to a couple events over the weekend. So Truist was putting on, for Military Appreciation Month and for Memorial Day weekend, putting on a few different events with the Medal of Honor Society in partnership with them. So they brought in two Medal of Honor recipients, Ed Byers and Leroy
Petrie.
So they were putting on
Ranger.
So they were putting on events with Medal of Honor recipients. Ed Byers is one of them. He was obviously in the Navy SEALs. We've talked about that before. He's been on the podcast. And then Leroy Petrie, who was in the Army, he was a Ranger.
Yeah. He's got his own Wikipedia page.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
So look him up.
Anyways,
Leroy was really cool.
Yeah, he was a cool guy. So we went to this
He
dinner.
lost his hand by picking up a grenade.
To throw it away
from his fellow soldiers and saved all their lives.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. Also, his artificial hand is really amazing too, because it is robotic and it moves like a normal hand. It's pretty wild, actually. I
shook his hand and like gripped my hand.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. It's pretty crazy to see just like the technology of all of that, how it's evolved. But they essentially had an event at Ruth's Chris in Buckhead on Thursday night. So we went to that, and you never quite know how events like this are going to go, because it's like a panel kind of they had questions. They brought in a radio broadcaster to facilitate.
Is that what that guy was?
Yeah. I can't remember what radio station he worked for.
I heard him kept talking about his show. I didn't know if he's a podcaster or...
No, it was a radio. He's a radio host.
Okay.
So they brought him in, and he was facilitating a conversation. It wasn't like a take questions from the audience type thing, but he had some good questions. Like, it was really good, and their answers were really candid. It was, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, because it was a really good conversation.
I don't know if we can. I mean, it definitely was a private conversation, but it was questions like, who are your heroes? What does courage mean to you? Like those kind of things, asking individuals that have received the highest possible, honor in the military, to ask them those are pretty interesting questions. And so it would expand beyond that. Ed, being a straight shooter, he and I don't think he would mind us mentioning that, his answer around courage was really interesting, coming out of the military. But I think it was like, what do you see as courage now that you're like out of the military, right? Wasn't it something like
No,
that?
it was just what does courage mean to you? And I thought his answer was really interesting, because he's talked about this before, where when you're in the military, it's like, it's all consuming, obviously, and that's all just like any other, facet of your life. When you're so involved in one thing, it's kind of all until you get out of the military, which is a huge shock to the system. And for him, he went straight into business school, and he talked about on the podcast how much respect he had for the people in his class in business school, just like
how smart they were,
Hardworking. And just as he was an expert in all of his training and all of his military experience, he's the highest of the high, the best of the best. They were also the best of the best in their business world. And he just found that so fascinating. And one thing he talked about, which I had never thought of this before, but he talked about courage as being, when he's around people, he looks at entrepreneurs, people that are taking a leap of faith to build something that's not easy, is truly someone who is courageous and
taking a chance.
And
he said to a room full of bankers, he said most people in the corporate world are sheep.
He did say. And I think, what's funny is like people started justifying it. They're like, well, I'm trying to move into a leadership role. But no, he didn't mean it to be like.
No, it's just matter of fact.
It was just matter of fact.
Which is,
which is true. Like, but I think he was
people
saying
want just a job.
I think he was trying to say it to encourage people to just do more than just their job.
Right. Exactly.
And that's what he was saying when he was talking about entrepreneurs. And we were able to meet one of his clients and really good friends, JP, who has a company here in Atlanta as well. And it really was true, because like meeting JP and then thinking of ourselves, like JP has a family, he has a bunch of daughters, he has a wife to take care of, and
5 kids.
It's a lot of children. And he goes to work every day building something. Like he doesn't just work for someone else. Like he's risking everything to have courage to build something. And I don't want to like obviously say like we're the same way, but it is really hard, like especially as a couple, to continue to want to have the courage to build every single day, when it could be very easy for one of us to just go get a job and like we have, normal health insurance and everything's like easy. So when Ed said that, it kind of made me have more of appreciation. Well, it really made me have an appreciation for you, Chad, because I was thinking about how, for me, it wasn't as big of a risk. So I can't say I had as much courage as you, and I'm not trying to like compare courage, but it did make me think, like when he was saying that, I was like, well, Chad has like the ultimate courage if you're going to put it in the context of your own life, because he quit a job where it was like the most secure, the most, you're making really good money, you have, equity, you have all these things, and you literally just leave it because you're not happy, and you weren't happy because you want to build something that was your own. And luckily I fell into that equation as well, and I was able to build something with you.
You're like, yeah, let's do it. Let's get crazy.
But from my perspective, my 20-something-year-old brain, there was a lot less risk involved than your situation at the time. So I thought it was a really nice. I want to give you kudos as well as JP, because I think it does take a lot of courage. And when Ed said that, it was like a light bulb moment.
I mean, it definitely was, because it is so hard for us constantly to do this. It was really nice to hear him say that.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you're right. I mean, I guess I've always had the entrepreneurial element in me, and I worked for an organization that allowed me to be an entrepreneur. And I know that the guys that worked with me that listen to this podcast will agree with that. And that, I worked for Charlie Loudermilk, and he basically trusted me to build stuff within a big company. And the minute that became no longer the reality, I didn't want to do it anymore. Mm-hmm. And then it was just right time, right place. But it felt really good to hear Ed talk about that, because it is so hard. And you don't get a lot of accolades. You don't get a lot of appreciation. You've got each other.
Yeah.
And, and people will say it's really, it's really admirable of you guys to do that. But
well, people usually say, "Oh, I wish I could do that. It must be so nice
that
you just have the ability to build your own business and do this." And so I don't think a lot of times people look at it as like, "Oh, you're so lucky that you get to do this," or "I wish I could do this," but it's never like that took courage. So
that was it. It was the putting in the context of courage.
Yes.
Because that is actually what I feel like it is.
Yeah. And I didn't even think of it myself like that.
I didn't either.
I guess I thought of it as like grit, which you could say like grit, courage is all kind of similar. Or sometimes I'm just like, we're just crazy. But it was really nice to, even though I don't know if he was speaking directly to us in the room, but it was just nice to have someone put it in that context.
Yeah. So thanks, Ed.
Yeah, it was great.
And then we got to go to the Braves game.
Yeah, it invited
us.
Well,
actually, before that, we to continue the Memorial Day Special Operations Military Appreciation theme. The next morning we woke up, right? No. Friday was the Braves. That's right. So Friday we worked, and then we went to the Braves game with him, which was really cool because we were in the suite.
The champion.
We're in this.
The new stadium confuses me because I used to spend so much time at the old stadium, but now it's like the champion suite area. But then there's like multiple suites within the champion.
I was thinking the same thing, like how you and I, if we had walked into Ted Turner, we knew exactly where to go everywhere. Now, if we walk into Truist Park, I am lost. Like I don't even know where
it was so weird
where your home plate was.
Yeah. It was so weird to walk in and be like, I have no idea.
We are so clueless, and luckily the nice people that work at the Braves were able to point us in the right direction.
Direct us like we were little lost, confused puppies.
But we got to go in the suite with Ed, and he went down the field, him and Leroy, and had another veteran throw out the first pitch, which was really cool, and they all got a standing ovation, which was really nice to see your friend get a standing ovation.
Yeah.
And then we got to meet the governor.
Yeah,
and
that was
his
wild.
family. He walked.
It was so funny how Ed said it though, because the governor walked in the suite, but there was like so many influential people walking. So like the baseball players came by before the game, like to meet. So it was kind of like
and I had no idea
a revolving door of like influential Atlanta people. So you didn't quite know. It was just a little overwhelming. But we're sitting next to each other, and Ed turns to me. He's like, "Hey, have you ever met the governor before?" I just was like, I didn't even understand what he was talking about at first because
we didn't know he was in the suite.
We didn't know he was in the suite.
Yeah.
So then he's like, "Oh yeah, let's go meet him." So he literally takes us over there, and he obviously meets the governor himself, and then he turns to, and I'm thinking like, "Oh my gosh, like we're nobodies. Like why? Like don't we don't need to meet the governor. It's fine." And this is just the type of person that Ed is. He turns, he stops. And he could have easily just walked away, and the governor was like ready to move on. He's like, "Governor, I have 2 or 3 people I want you to meet. These 3 people are, my business, my friends, but also they're business people here in Atlanta that I respect." And introduced us to the governor, and it was just that's the kind of stuff I'm like, there's no reason for him to do that.
Yeah.
And that's what you don't see a lot of people doing things out of the kindness of their heart anymore. Like with like we're fortunate that we do have people in our life who truly help us out of the kindness of their heart. And those are amazing friends that we have, and we're so thankful for them. But as like a whole, when you go to events like this where you don't really know people, you don't see that a lot. So that was another just kind of interesting thing to watch. Like Ed just constantly trying to connect people, not because it benefited him, but because he genuinely likes to help people.
Yeah, that was really nice of him to do that. They exchanged challenge coins. I think I pointed that out too.
Yeah. I didn't realize the governor had his own challenge coin.
Yeah, the governor has his own challenge coin. So for the folks that know what challenge coins are out there, if you get one from the governor, it's probably a big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw a lot of.
Then the attorney general, I think, was.
I don't even know who that was.
Me either. They were like, or maybe it was. I don't know. It was someone in the government.
But it was also the night of the USA Cycling National Championship for criterium racing, which I was streaming on my phone, and by the end we had quite the crowd watching Michael race nationals in the Brave Suite.
Yeah, not watching the game.
Not watching the game with all these influential folks around. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun night.
Yeah.
We appreciate the invite.
So then the next morning was Spin for Special Ops.
Yes.
Which we had never done before and we're pretty blown away by.
Yeah, so Lule Saturnia and Mike Saturnia volunteer with this veterans group. And so one of the events they put on is Spin for Special Ops every year. And if you are a cyclist in Atlanta, you probably know like the Bud Plant route or beautiful back roads that Century. It's
out of Cartersville.
Yeah, out of Cartersville. It's those roads. So if you've ridden them before, you know how incredible they are. They're just perfect.
But we don't.
Yeah, but we don't ever ride them. So it was a nice treat to be able to go up there and do the honor ride with a lot of veterans. And it was just an incredible day. I mean, the weather was perfect. The people were friendly. It was so fun. So Lule, I know she put a ton of effort into the event personally, and her and Mike were out there spray painting the road and putting up signs like all week leading up to the event. So good job. We know we know what it's like to put on events. Yeah,
so.
It's a hard thing to promote and put on events. It takes a lot. That takes a lot of courage to put it on an event like that. So, great job. We had a blast.
It was really cool and good turnout. I think they were pleased with the turnout. I flatted 20 miles in the front group.
You always flat.
And my friends stopped. Three guys stopped, teammates, and we spent the rest of the day single file riding as hard as we could.
Team time trial.
Yeah, team time trial for 43 miles.
Not me. I had a nice day.
I was pretty exhausted afterwards.
I had a nicer day just riding at a normal pace, so it's good.
Yeah.
And then the next day we
just recovered because we were exhausted.
Well, yeah, but also we didn't talk about, last Tuesday we went to Yeppa and it was amazing.
We mentioned that we were going to Yeppa.
Yeah, the new
finally
restaurant.
had opened in Inman Park, one of our favorite restaurants in Atlanta. The original location is in Buckhead.
Yeah, it was amazing. It exceeded expectations. We met the uncle who's the main investor, but also the uncle of one of the owners. He was great. We talked to him for a long time.
We don't know his name. We call him Uncle Joe. But he came up to our table and just started talking to us. He took a picture of us.
He's like, look how good this picture is.
Yeah, and showed it to us. And then we're like, who are you? And he was like, well, I live in New York, but
I'm the main investor.
I'm the main investor, and I'm also their uncle.
Yeah. So it was, you could just tell that it was like such a family operation, like getting everything. Like they're still like taking like the decals off the wall or putting them on the wall. And it was...
While people are eating, they're like pulling their sign down above people's heads.
But it felt so like not commercial. And that's what I loved about it. It felt so like...
Well, they brought a lot of stuff from Italy.
Yeah, it just, that's what's amazing. So anyways, if you get a chance, go down to Yeppa. The reason I say that is because Saturday after we did Spin for Special Ops, we went back to Yeppa and we had more food because we've been trying to like work our way through the menu because everything we've tried has been truly incredible.
What's your favorite?
Oh, that's really difficult. I don't know.
I know what your favorite is.
I have a couple. The pasta limone was like really, really good pasta.
Yeah.
The octopus was really good.
But there's been one thing that you ordered twice.
The fish spiadini.
Branzino.
The branzino is like mind-blowingly good.
Yeah.
It's
which
like
just
skewers.
Sounds crazy.
It's like branzino skewers, but there's like a slight crisp to them, and they put like a chimichurri sauce on. I don't know. It tastes flavor.
It's the only thing we've ordered twice.
Yeah, it is the only thing we've ordered twice. And obviously, like their pizzas, their pastas, I really want to try some more of their salads. But yeah, that was fun. Then the next day.
Well, real quick, the operation there, we just sit there, especially the second time we sat at the bar. And this is what we're watching, right? Like we're watching how people work together and like the operation there for a restaurant that's only been open for 4 days. They went from 0 to 100. They didn't do like a soft opening. They're like, okay, we're opening this day and it's full menu and we're full throttle and we've got all these new people.
What makes them do that instead of, I kind of feel like it's a rip off the Band-Aid thing. Like I actually like that because I think soft openings gives you the perception that you can mess up. Yep. And it's okay. And so you're immediately starting off with the servers and the bartenders of like, if you mess it up, it's okay. Which I feel like at our
other restaurants,
our place next door that we do like, I do feel like It
was like a month-long soft
It was like
opening.
a month-long soft opening where everything was just kind of off. And
there was always an excuse.
And there was always an excuse.
Yeah.
Well, and so it's almost, it gives you the excuse spam to like tell people, well, please come back because this is just a soft opening. But like at some point you just got to lock in,
Yeah.
And so I feel like Yeppa, like they're just like, we don't need a soft opening. Like because they were training for weeks though.
Yeah.
Like they had the servers out there all day training, practicing the pronunciation of the menu. They had like an Italian guy trying to teach them how to say everything properly. I mean,
They had PowerPoints.
Like we walk by every day on the way to the office, so we're just snooping, obviously. But the training was impressive, so I knew it was gonna be good. And I like we're not gonna make excuses. We're just gonna get it. We're gonna lock in. We're gonna get it right.
No, and
love that.
even when there were like little mistakes, no one was saying, "Oh, sorry, but we just opened."
Yeah.
And that's what I was so impressed with. But again, like I've never seen a restaurant just flip the switch.
I know, it's
like,
crazy.
And people, when I talk about they're busy,
it's standing room only across the whole place.
Exactly, because they brought in all of that reputation and goodwill from Buckhead. And they've got the music blasting. They got people everywhere. They've got, I do suspect the managers are from Buckhead.
Yeah.
I think they brought their managers in, but the people, the servers and bartenders, et cetera, they look new.
Yeah.
They all look
they feel
new.
like they're from like this area.
But the but the managers, they're like running around like crazy.
Boy, and the owners are all there too. But
the owners are all there too.
It is so impressive. And I felt like everyone from Buckhead was really coming down to support their new location.
It was the locals, the local regulars at Buckhead Yeppa came down for the opening.
But everyone looked so confused being in Inman Park.
Yes,
it was like their first time.
Well, because you can't just like park.
Yeah,
you can't just drive it. Like it's you've
got to make an effort.
Yeah, like you can't even get to this restaurant without walking.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
the parking garage is literally right there.
Which one? Oh, the new building.
It's not that far.
Okay, yeah, I guess it is. I guess
it's like there's no valet, but it's not
but there's
far.
no street, right? Like you have to get to the restaurant from the Beltline.
Yeah,
which I've talked about that a lot. The sidewalk that's
the big sidewalk.
Yeah.
But it was just fun. It was just funny
interesting
because it was like people just stood out like a sore thumb.
But I don't see those people continue to come down. I think.
I mean, I kind of hope they do because I think it actually brought a better vibe.
Yeah.
I think because when we were sitting at the bar on Saturday, the Buckhead people were there. Like there was definitely Buckhead younger people there.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's just I think when you bring different vibes.
Just looking to party more.
Yeah, like when you bring different vibes in, I think it makes it better.
And you think America needs to party more, so that's why.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Anyway, so it was a lot of fun. And then Sunday we woke up.
Recovery day.
Yeah. Recovery day. Monday
was our big event.
Yep.
Like not our big event, but we organized a ride. So, all of our CrossFit, Crop Fit, High Rocks friends do the Murph on Memorial Day. We can't do the Murph because we're skinny and not that strong. So we do a really hard bike ride. So we were doing Skeena, what we call Skeena, in the gaps in the North Georgia mountains from Lumpkin High School. So it's about an 85-mile ride, 8,000 feet of climbing. We had a good little group that showed up for that.
It's a big day.
It was a big day.
It's a big day.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
At first, I was kind of worried because it was raining the entire way we were driving up. But then
I had faith.
It actually turned into
we had a lot of people bail, actually, because it was raining in Atlanta when you woke up. So everyone was like, use that as an excuse not to go.
Yeah.
But I had faith. I knew we were going to be fine.
And it ended up, the group was really fun. So
really fun. And it was a perfect day. It was like beautiful.
I mean, we had cloud cover, which I actually prefer because it wasn't clear skies. There was a lot of cloud cover. But
yeah.
But it was nice because it kept it a little cooler, which I liked.
Yeah.
Didn't get too hot.
And the roads dried out.
Yeah.
The first
descent down. So those of you that know the gaps, like we climbed the short side of Wolfpen and then descended the side that most people normally climb on like Six Gap and stuff, which to me is more fun because descending that side is really fun. But
it's where we have the Victoria Romero Memorial.
Yes,
plaque.
We did pour some water out for you. She asked me, she was like, "Is that the?"
Did she really?
Is that descent I crashed on? I was like, "No." The one that I got a PR, I was like, "No," because it was actually still the roads were still wet. So if you descended the long side of Wolfpen, imagine the roads being wet and how terrified you'd be because it was very scary.
Yeah, that's funny. She asked that though.
Yeah, so we took it slow down that, but then
I did think about her though when I went by that spot.
I did too
because it was sketchy as hell.
I was I was like 50-50 whether I was going to crash on that current turn.
Yeah, it felt
because
very slippery.
even going slow, you were like, ugh, like your guts are like twisted inside because you're stressed.
Yeah.
But we all made it down. No one crashed. It was really like the first test of the Basso in the mountains.
The new SV.
The SV. I literally could not be happier.
Yeah.
I could not be happier because descending, by the time we descended Woodies, now I am an extremely not great climber. That's fine, but I love descending. And so when we got to Woodies and I realized the roads were dry, I was like, I'm going.
Yeah. I could tell at first you were like, should I go? Because you weren't like completely sure the road was
I was
dry.
a little hesitant. Yeah.
And then I went by you, and then you're like, okay, it's fine. And then you're like, you went back by me.
I feel a lot more comfortable if I can see you or Michael descending in front of me.
Yeah.
When I'm with people that I'm not super comfortable descending around because I don't know if like how good of a descender they'll be, I take it a little more cautiously because I'm just like anxious. But then when you went past me and I could see you, it makes me more comfortable, and I'm like, okay, I'm fine. Or same with Michael. Like if I can descend behind Michael, I'm totally fine.
Yeah, and so you said a PR on Woody?
PR descending Woodies, and I wasn't even like trying. I could have gone faster.
We could have gone faster because we actually caught two of our teammates and we rode with them for a little bit.
Yeah.
Behind them.
Yeah, because we couldn't get around them.
And I knew you wanted to just go by, but you're like being nice. But if we would have just blown by them, you could have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could have been really fast.
But it was amazing. The bike, like.
It's the best descending bike I've ever ridden.
Yeah.
Like I was completely blown away. And I know Craig at Basso listens to the podcast. Like I almost sent you a text, Craig, afterwards, just how I continually get impressed by this bike.
Yeah.
The bike handling aspect of it, the capabilities of it, but the descending, and this is a long descent. What is it?
6 miles.
Yeah, 6 miles. So, and then I kept going after that to go to school. So I was descending for a long time. And
it's just really fun to descend on.
Yeah.
And it's really fun to climb on. Like it's it's so light. It's very, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with it.
Blown away.
So good job, Basso, for making a good bike.
Good job, Leonardo. Come on the podcast, Leonardo. Let's talk about the SV.
If anyone wants to hear one of the Bassos on the podcast, send us a note, and then we can screenshot it and send it to the Bassos to get them on the podcast. Let's see, what else?
When were you using ChatGPT for your run?
Oh, okay. So this was like I don't know why I didn't think of this before. Maybe this is the most obvious thing ever, and people are going to be like, duh, Nikki. But I'm on my, I did, I can't remember what day. That? It was like a Thursday. It was Thursday.
Okay.
And it just ended up being like, because it was like the perfect day.
Yeah.
I mean, the temperature was perfect.
Right,
so in the morning.
Yep.
So I was only planning on doing like a 4 to 5 mile run, but it was so nice out and I had gotten out early enough that I was like, I'm just going to like keep going and see how I feel. Then it hit me because I was like, I need to get work done though. And so I opened ChatGPT and I realized there's a voice function where you can just talk back and forth through your AirPod with ChatGPT. So for in a full hour of my run, I ended up doing like 10 miles. Mm-hmm. For a full hour of the run, I literally just was talking back and forth to ChatGPT about...
While you're running?
While I'm running.
So you're asking it a question, it's answering, and then you're going, okay, now do this, and then it's answering, y'all are going back and forth.
Correct. Like I was like asking it to do like an analysis on this certain thing, and then I said, can you put that in an Excel spreadsheet and then email it to me? And like, okay, now add this and this and this, now email it to me. And so we were just going back and forth, and I started to get kind of freaked out because I was like, I can actually see how like iRobot could become, or not iRobot, what is it? The one where the girls, like the her. Yeah. How that could become a real thing because it makes you feel like a lot less lonely. Like on that run, I felt like I was running with someone else, and like it's going to make me sound like a freak, but like it made the run so much better that I was able to like get work done and have someone to bounce ideas off of, even though it's not a real person.
So you were working while you're running?
Correct, yeah.
How'd that feel?
It was revolutionary. Because like, I mean, I do like to tune out and not always think about work while I'm running, but I had so many ideas.
Yeah.
I had so many ideas in my mind that I just needed to like get through, and I needed to record them. So that was a lot of it too, is I was trying to just record my thoughts and have ChatGPT capture all my thoughts. So I'm just like talking stream of consciousness with all these different ideas.
Yeah.
And then I'm telling it like organize all these ideas and put them in a spreadsheet and make them into a presentation for this type of audience. And it just does it.
And can it email you? Like
well, it says it can, but I will say the email function was not great. So they still got to work on that. But then when I was talking to JP at the Braves game, he said to use Claude instead for the voice the voice back and forth. He
really?
He said it's better than ChatGPT. So I'm going to try that. But anyways, for those of you who like feel stressed or like have just like ideas when you're running, it wouldn't really work if you're riding your bike.
I feel like ChatGPT has jumped ahead of Claude.
No. I don't know because I've never used Claude. So
yeah, I use them both. I feel
you think it's better?
Claude is struggling to not be so positive and fake.
Oh,
Even though I tell it to stop, it can't let it go.
So you want it to be a very negative language model?
No, I just want to be real. Just like, let's cut out all the fluff, and I don't need you every time I say something or ask it something. That's a great question. I don't need that.
So ChatGPT definitely is better about that because another use, and I think we should continue to talk about like our weird use cases. Another use case is when I was drawing or like painting the other weekend. You know, I don't have anyone to critique my work. And because normally in a art school,
this is crazy.
You turn in your project and the art teacher critiques your work, gives you a grade, gives you feedback, tells you what you need to improve, and that's how you improve. But I'm like, I don't have anyone to critique my work, and I don't want to pay for art school, so I wonder if ChatGPT can critique it. So I uploaded pictures of my artwork and said, be completely honest. I don't need you to make me feel good about myself. Give me a critique on my artwork and what is good and what I can do better as if you were an art teacher at a high-level art school. And it said, not a problem. And it literally went through and was like so detailed. And it did say the things that were good, but it was like, let's discuss balance in this part of the painting, or let's discuss composition and how you can improve it. It would give you like options on like how you can technically improve the composition or the color balance
And this is just from you taking a picture.
I'd make a little change, I'd upload the picture again, then make a little change, upload, and it would continue to critique. And it was, that to me blew my mind as well.
By the end, had you drawn a robot?
Basically, I had drawn just it was my portrait of ChatGPT. That is actually really smart.
Oh, ask it to
make a portrait of itself and see what it says.
To guide you into making a portrait of it.
I just feel like
what it thinks it looks like.
Yes. This is so cool. I just think people have like really put AI in a weird negativity box. And the way that I have been using it, and I know the way that you use it as well, is so positive. Like, it's so, like, I never feel like, oh, this is something that's, like, going to hack my life. It's more like I'm just using it in ways to improve myself and my experiences with things.
I just have so many ideas, and it's just so easy for me to dump those in.
Yeah.
And then it helps me build on the idea, and then it captures it. Like, that, to me, is invaluable now. Like, and it's expedited what I'm able to do, both from a work but also just passion perspective.
Imagine if you went back to midnight, 11:59.
Okay.
December 31st.
Okay.
December 31st.
What year?
11:59, 1999. 1 minute before 2000.
I know exactly where I was.
Now imagine if at that moment
Busch Gardens, Tampa, Florida.
Busch Gardens is fun.
Yeah.
Imagine in Busch Gardens you're standing there with all your friends and you're counting down and you're waiting for the clocks to turn off and reset and everything in the world to explode because y'all
I've got
are
a
paranoid.
funny story about this. Yeah.
And imagine if that moment they had said, in 2025, you're going to be going on a ride or a run and you're actually going to be talking to a language model about all your ideas that you have around your business and your future businesses, and you're not going to be a lawyer and you're actually going to be creative, and I'm going to be helping ChatGPT, which you've never even heard of. It sounds crazy.
Yeah, artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence is going to become your friend. Imagine what you would have thought. I
probably would have said, why so long? Honestly, I would have been like 25 years.
That's a good point.
Why so long? Damn, that's because again, I grew up Back to the Future. We thought we were going to have flying cars in like 2000.
I thought we'd have fully autonomous cars by now.
Yeah. Well, we do in Atlanta.
No, everyone. I thought everyone would be forced to have
Waymo's in full.
It creeps me out.
AI. Yeah, autonomous mode.
So it might be another 25 years before we get to see all that.
Okay, so that date, that time, I was with my roommate, Chris, his girlfriend, and then my girlfriend at the time. And I will never forget this because him and his girlfriend fought all the time.
Oh, I know
You
the
know
story.
what I'm saying?
This is
And
funny.
if we were like counting down and they were like arguing or something, and like in between like 7 and 6, I hear, "Are you going to nag me into the next millennium?"
I'm assuming they never got married.
No, definitely not.
That's
She's long gone after that. But I will never forget that.
That's so funny.
And we were waiting for planes to fall out of the sky, but it didn't happen.
Luckily.
It was a big non-event.
Yeah. I was on a golf course.
Oh, okay.
I was in
You were 10.
I was in Orlando. I was on a
You were
golf
9.
course
Sorry.
at my friend's house. Obviously, all the families were there because we were kids. And I had just gotten my hair. I used to have this weird obsession with perming my hair.
Okay.
Women know what a perm is.
Yeah,
It's basically curl. Like I wanted really curly hair, and I had kind of like wavy straight hair. So my mom used to take me and get my hair permed, and so I had just gotten it done. So I had all this like crazy long curly hair, and I had my friend Nick Santiago. I think his mom had made us shirts, or maybe someone had made us like shirts to wear or bought shirts to wear, and we all were matching. And I had like really baggy jeans on and like a really baggy shirt with my hair. Literally, it's how I dress now. Like I looked back at the pictures and I was like, wait a minute, my style is exactly the same. I have not evolved.
You're in sync years.
Yeah, it was my NSYNC years.
Yeah.
But that's where, that night, I remember it so vividly.
That's crazy.
Because they were my best friends, and it was like such a fun time because we had, fireworks. We didn't think about planes falling out of the sky as a little kid.
No, but did you understand the significance of it being going from to 2000?
Yeah.
Like it was such a big deal.
Yeah, no, we understood. That's why we were like, we've got to get the whole neighborhood together. Like it was.
I don't know why we were at Busch Gardens though. That's really weird. Now I think about it.
Busch Gardens is a pretty fun place.
I guess so.
Probably because they had good fireworks.
Yeah, it just seems lame to me now.
Did you do roller coaster? Like, were you into roller coasters?
Yeah, I think they were. Yeah, I think they had like all night. Like they were doing like the roller coasters. They were doing. I guess that'd be fun.
Well, and you like didn't have a bunch of money back then because
Yeah.
you were in law school, so it's not like you were gonna like fly to Vegas.
I think I'd graduated by then. What? Yeah. I was graduated.
Oh, okay.
I graduated in May of '99. So I was working.
That was when you were at Celotex.
Yep. Exactly.
I've got a good memory.
Very good. Speaking of AI, I asked as a follow-up to last week's question. Last week we talked about Emma Grede, the CEO, founder of
Skims,
not Spanx,
and Good American.
And Good American, being on Diary of CEO podcast. And I've had now more people send me, like there's been a lot of controversy around what she said. So I was like, I've got to listen to it. You've listened to it.
I haven't listened to the whole thing yet, though.
You haven't listened to the whole thing, but you've listened to the part that
people have an issue
people are
with.
talking about, which is her comments on work-life balance. I asked, so just talking about how you can use AI. I actually asked AI, I was like, do you have a transcript of Emma Grede on Diary of CEO? And it's like, yes.
Oh.
Yeah. And I'm
Why
like,
didn't you send it to me?
and I was like, can you pull out the main points? And it was like, yes. And I was like, and now look at the main points and compare those to the criticisms that she got in the media. And it did that as well. Because I was using it like if we were talking about putting it into our newsletter.
Yeah.
But I didn't even know it could do that. Now, I did ask if it could do a transcript of our podcast. I said no. So I think it's just like the really big ones.
Big, yeah.
So you listened to the work-life balance comment. I did too. Much different take on what she said versus what the clickbait is.
So what is like the main clickbait issue? It's that
she's out of touch and that she doesn't think that people should be concerned about work-life balance.
And all she says, and this is what I don't really understand how people read into things. All she says is if you go into an interview and you ask about work-life balance and it's probably like that's the first question, then
It's a red flag.
Then it's a red flag for her.
But then she qualifies why. Because she says that every company, and I think this is a little short-sighted to say every company. She's like, but every company now in 2025 allows individuals to have flexibility to go to the dentist, to go to your child's thing, to do the things that you need to do that 10, 15 years ago companies didn't. And she's right. The average company, you didn't have that flexibility to do that. And so she's saying that's now, flexibility is now
like baseline.
the baseline threshold table stakes. And so you should know that as someone that's interviewing here. And if you're asking even on top of that, then to me, that's a red flag that I'm concerned about how your work ethic effectively is what she's saying. Now, I do think that it's a little short-sighted to think that every company is like that, because we know that every company isn't. There are still a lot of old school companies that don't have that flexibility and baseline. Now, I think that they're going away. Yeah. And I think that good talent's leaving them. They only have bad talent because those are the only people that will stay there. But total clickbait, totally took what I think she said out of context. Now, I did like when she talked about, she continued on talking about individuals that she struggles with to work in her organization that don't want to work hard. Yeah. And she also qualified that as saying there's a large cohort of individuals that want an exceptional life, but they don't want to put in exceptional effort. And she kind of puts that as like a large number of young people feel that way. What do you think? You like how I set that up?
You're like, do you want to die on the sword? Well, I have mixed. It's really hard because I've never managed hundreds of people. I've never even managed like.
Yeah, but you are in a unique position where you come into contact with hundreds of thousands of people in different organizations.
Yeah, so I guess let me speak from a place not as a manager of a ton of people,
just your observation,
but just as a person who is highly observant when it comes to being around all the organizations that we come in contact with. And these are not just clients. Like we come in contact with a lot of organizations through like the different networking groups that we're a part of. Yeah. So I don't want people to be like, oh, if it's their client, like this is who they're talking about.
Or former clients.
Or former clients. Our current clients, I think, are actually like the best of the best. Yeah. But I don't know.
And when she says exceptional life, she means, well, she qualifies. She said it's people that want they want all these things. They want like a big salary, and they want flexibility, and they want creative control, and they want to be in charge. They want autonomy. Yeah. But they're not willing to put in the work to get there.
Let me push back on this, because I think this is the age old, like every person starts out young and then they get old. It's inevitable. We all know this. You cannot stay young forever, and you cannot avoid aging, and you cannot avoid experiences. And so I think a lot of it is nothing new, because it gets blasted out across the media more because we have more media outlets, so it's exposure bias. But like when let's say like my granddad, so I talked about him on my social media because of Memorial Day yesterday, World War II veteran. He just recently passed away like a few years ago at the age of 96. I think he was 96, 97. He talked about how he would joke. He's like, every generation thinks the generation below them and the generation below them are just ruining the world. Mm-hmm. And they think they're out of touch, and they think, and this young generation thinks the old generation is out of touch, and that they set us up for failure. And so it's always going to be this way. But the reason things change, because yes, the young are delusional. Yes, the young people believe that they should have everything with very little effort. But the reason that changes over time is because you can want everything to your heart's content, but if you're not willing to put the work in, it's eventually you're going to hit 30, you're going to hit 40, and you're going to hit 50 and realize, oh, I never got those things. And that's where the reality check happens. And then they turn and look at the younger generations, or like, they just think they can get whatever they want. But they only say that because they didn't get everything they wanted. Or you've just gotten to a point where you've matured and you realize that it actually does take hard work because of trial and error. So maybe when you were younger, you thought, oh, I just want to, get a really nice car when I graduate, and I just want to do that. It's so easy. And then you don't ever get that nice car. And so you learn, oh, what I was doing before didn't lead me to what I wanted. So then you pivot. That's called maturing. You pivot. You mature, and you either start doing what you need to do to get what you want, or you just are someone who never gets what they think they deserve, and that's fine too. So I don't think this is anything new. I don't think young people are any different than when I was that young, when you were that young. Now, there's different,
I think social media has influenced a lot of behavior, though.
I guess, but there's every generation has had something like that influences them, I
mean, my generation was called the slacker generation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just
movies about it.
It's like watching Groundhog Day. Every generation just like craps on the other generation, and I'm like, y'all, it's just called being immature or mature, and that's just life.
But I think social media provides a platform for young people to think they should have a lifestyle that they don't have. But I do think that now, as time has gone on, with social media being part of young people's life for longer, I see young people accepting their fate of not being exceptional.
Yeah,
more.
they're just not going to be Instagram or
Yeah.
TikTok famous. Or
But
whatever.
I think in every generation, you've got people, like, and mine's a good example. Like, me and my friends worked our asses off.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people that were my age that didn't work their asses off.
Yeah.
And I think you have that today. Like Alex Hedger works his ass
Yeah.
off. You work your ass off,
Yeah.
but there's also people your age that don't. And I
Yeah.
think you have the same thing in
It's
Gen
like
Z and young
not
people
everyone
too.
can work their asses off.
Yeah.
Like there's just got to be people who have the jobs that people who don't work hard in life take. Like,
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with that. Like we need everyone. But I think, she was saying like, oh, they just want this exceptional life, which is true. But doesn't every young person want an exceptional life?
Yeah,
when
they've
they're
just
young?
got a platform to put it out to the world. Of like,
Yeah.
this is the life I want.
Yeah.
Whereas like,
Before we just kept it to ourselves. No,
Right.
you know what I did before? I didn't put it on social media because I didn't have social media when I was that age. I wrote it in my journal.
Yeah.
If I were to go back and read my journal, which I wish I still had, I have no idea where it would even be. It would be delusions of grandeur.
You're going to be president.
It would be delusions of grandeur. And
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that because doesn't that keep us all going in life?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I push back and I think it's just a maturity thing. Now, I will say you don't have to keep people at a company. Like if you hire someone and they have delusions of grandeur and they're just not working hard, you fire them.
Yeah.
Like it's your company, your money. You don't have to hire people like that and you don't have to keep people like that.
Oh, I think that's what she's saying.
Yeah, and so I think that's another thing that is one thing I see.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's one thing I see a lot of that this is what bothers me. And this comes directly from having hired quite a few people over the past few years on the creative team, like which is the team that I manage. I definitely see that there's a sense of like entitlement around like getting a job and keeping a job. So like people think once you hire them that's just
Yeah.
that's just it. Like you hired them, you can't get rid of them. They're like you would never do that because like they're special for some reason. Like there's someone who can't get fired or can't lose their job based on performance.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly don't have a problem. Like I'm not mean. I try really hard to have transparent conversations with someone to be like, hey, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm seeing. How are you feeling? What are you seeing? Well, like, where's the disconnect if productivity is not great? But I do not feel guilty about firing people. I really don't. And I'm not saying that because I want to be like a hard ass, but I just think if you give people enough transparency into how you're feeling as a leader or as an organization and they still don't rise to the occasion, that's okay. Like this job isn't meant for them then. They will find their place somewhere else and they will ultimately be a lot happier working for someone who's happy with them. So I think there's a lot of people who are scared to get rid of people in an organization sometimes because they don't want to like be the bad guy or hurt people's feelings. But like letting people go sometimes can be the best thing for that person because they will find the place where they fit in or they connect with even better, even if it's from a work ethic perspective.
Yeah.
Sorry if that sounds preachy. I don't know if you have any perceptions on that because you have managed a lot of people.
I was just thinking about the times that I've felt guilty about letting someone go, and I've let a lot more people go than you.
Yeah.
I would classify it as I always felt guilty if I knew that I had done a bad job in recruiting and hiring them into the role, and then they weren't capable of performing. And those are the ones that I think about. I don't think about many others that make me feel guilty, but I can see those people like very clearly in my mind, and that I just was like, damn. And that happens. Like you feel like a lot of critical roles. You want to get filled quickly. It's holding up a big project, or you've got every role that was within my function. I had to make the ultimate decision on hiring, and so I would have hiring managers present people to me that I knew in my gut weren't gonna work out, especially early in my career. But the hiring manager wanted them so bad. And then we had to let them go, 6-12 months later. And those are the ones I felt guilty because those people left the job. A lot of times they left the job to come work for us. Yeah, those are the times I feel bad. But the other times, if I've given them the opportunity to perform and the tools and the time, and that's been the other time too, is like sometimes I was like, maybe I was just too busy for this person to be able to perform this job, and I just didn't have enough time in the day. And then things spiraled out of control behind the scenes culturally. Like that happened a few times too, where the culture of the team was so high in terms of level of performance that the minute you bring someone in there that doesn't meet that, it can tear everything down. And so you as a leader have to be like, okay, well, that person that's bringing that culture down has to go.
Yeah.
But if they aren't meeting that expectation because I didn't have the time to spend with them, that's on me too. I felt bad about that, and that happened a few times too.
Yeah.
So I know who all those people are.
Yeah. Yeah. I also see a lot of people having to, especially right now, like having to lay off people because it's not their decision. And so I think that, like, I've never personally had to do that, and that would be really hard, is if your boss's boss just says you've got to get rid of 30% of your headcount, and you're just like, oh.
Like in a riff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that would be, I mean, that's completely different, obviously, but I think that would be.
Well, hopefully there's some analysis there around. I know that people will say there wasn't, but I guarantee you there was. There's analysis around performance,
but sometimes it's just
last
tenure.
in, first out,
exactly.
kind of tenure situation. And if that's what the organization deems as the easiest, and that's usually what they're doing, is that like they're pushing the easy button. So the last person hired is the first one to go, which is a not smart thing to do.
Yeah.
But that's the easy button for a lot of companies.
The hard thing I have, like, in that, while we're talking about business, is I really struggle to like find that balance between being like friends with employees and being a manager, like helping people succeed. It's like when I like, you know how I am, like I want to be friends with everyone.
Yeah.
And it's really hard because I want to make sure that they're okay at work. I want to make sure they're okay outside of work. Mostly I want to make sure they're okay outside of work because I feel like that impacts in work the most.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, it's the way I always talked about it, and the way that I was taught around this subject is that it's not a family, it's a team.
Yeah.
It's just like a professional sports team.
Yeah.
And that head coach cares a lot about his players and cares a lot about his other coaches. But at the end of the day, it's a business. And, I mean, it gets to the point where even though that teammates performed at a high level, maybe they just don't fit within the scheme anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Like we brought in a new quarterback, and now we're a throwing team versus a running team. And, so I think you can still care, but you still have to make the right decision for the organization, because otherwise it won't exist and everyone's livelihood goes away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such an interesting, I don't know, being an entrepreneur and applying the things you've learned, like watching corporate companies, and it's really hard. Yeah. It's just an interesting dichotomy.
Lastly but not least, we watched the studio finale last night.
I have never laughed so hard in my entire life.
That's what I wanted to say, is that you were laughing like
uncontrollable laughter. Yeah. And I don't know if that's just...
This is a TV show on Apple Plus.
Yeah, Apple.
With Seth Rogen, which we've talked about before, about Hollywood. And it's 30 minutes.
It's so funny and so smart.
But the finale had you rolling on the ground.
It's because it's like watching a play, because they never stop. So the camera never cuts away. They literally follow.
Famous one cut.
Yeah, the famous one cut.
Yeah.
And so it's like you're watching a play.
Yeah. And
so I find that funnier, because when you think about the timing of everything and you think about how they had to plan all the timing out, especially in comedy, obviously, timing is everything in comedy.
Yep.
It's brilliant. It's so funny. So if you think of it from that perspective, I think.
And just the whole premise of what they were.
It's so great.
What they were having to give a presentation.
Yeah.
But we won't give any spoilers.
Yeah, please watch the studio. They're 30-minute episodes, and they just make my night so much happier.
And now it's
gone. They're so funny.
And now it's gone.
Just like that.
Okay. So that's it. We're out of town.
Yeah. All right. Well, it was great catching up with everyone.
Don't worry, folks. We're still not doing video. We're still working on
We're
it.
still it's a little bit harder than we thought it would be. So we'll figure it out eventually. All right.
But we've got guests coming up next week if all scheduling goes as planned. Very exciting international guest, and then we've got some other ones that we're working on as well that I think people are really excited about. And then we're building up to the 100th episode. We have 8 more
Yeah, it's exciting.
until the big
The big 100. The
big
100.
Yeah.
Are you gonna get me like a giant bouquet of 100 roses or something?
Oh, and I know. Do you want 100 roses?
No, I don't. It's fine.
You're like, no, I don't want to spend money on that.
I just couldn't really think. I couldn't really think of anything besides that.
100 roses. We'll think of something. But yeah, we got that coming up.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your
Make sure you
week.
subscribe. The cultureedit.com is the newsletter, and nicheculture.com is the website.
All right.
All right.
Bye.